My name is Christy Lindstrom. I've been the head of schools and working in school leadership for almost 15 years. I've worked in middle schools and high schools. I've worked with preschoolers. I've worked in boarding, and I've worked with day students. And every time I meet a new group of teachers and a new group of students, I get excited. And I wonder, what will they learn? How will we learn? When will we learn? And how can I support the learning process in the best way possible? I'm sure you wonder too. I, of course, have to work with tjänstefördelningar. I have personalansvar. I have to work with the facilities, safety inspections, and acceptance rates, just like you. And I'm looking forward to meeting with you at the second internat of your Rektorsprogram. I'm sorry I can't be with you today, but I got the opportunity to come and listen to John Hattie and James Nottingham. And I hope to bring that learning with me when I meet you in January. When we meet, I hope that we can talk about this: innovative learning environments. I'm so curious, and I'm sure you are too. When and where does learning happen? And how can we create the environment that makes it happen? OECD did a huge study in different countries to try and identify the principles of innovative learning environments, and here they are. Being demanding without overloading the student, having challenge but not too much, making the learning social, teaching students to work together, how we should change our approaches to teaching to make everyone feel engaged and excited and a part of it, that the learners themselves see, I'm a learner, I have to take responsibility. How can we align assessment with our goals and our aims? We also need to, of course, emphasize feedback. How can we connect subjects across the board? You know, Finland has just done this in their whole curriculum, but how do we make sure students see the connections? How can we help and make sure our teachers are paying attention to and understand what motivates our young learners? How can we help our teachers be sensitive to individual students and be aware even when they carry so many students at a time? This is what, identified in this report, makes the learning environment innovative, powerful, and effective. This is what I'd like for us to discuss. How can we make this happen? In order to be ready, I would ask that you please read the Handbook for Innovative Learning Environments, and you can find it on this website. You can either read it online, you can buy the book and get to be able to make notes, or you can get even citation details. So pay attention to this link, you're going to get it. And I think that this is a longer book, and it's not necessary for you to read the entire book, but I would ask that you read the first pages of each chapter. And in the first chapter, you will learn about these 7 ideas, the principles that they believe in this report to be essential in creating innovative learning environments where all students can thrive. And I would just ask that you read these pages and take some notes as you go along. Have a look also at chapter 2. And there you can see what they call the 7+3. And the 7 are the framework, the principles, and the 3 of the framework has to do with how we organize the culture in our schools, our organization in our schools, and our leadership, and the role technology can play in that. So there's about 6 pages of chapter 2 you need to have a look at before we meet, and when we're together we'll talk about this in different exercises. In chapter 3, I hope that you will have a look, and this chapter is dedicated in these 7 pages to what leadership styles and how we should be thinking about innovation and change, if it's necessary or not. How can we find it or not? How can we create the environment for our teachers to achieve? It is about leadership in terms of creating change and facilitating sustainability. So let's have a look at chapter 3 in one of our sessions. And finally, I would ask you to look at chapter 4. And it's starting to talk about learning ecosystems. So not necessarily that kids learn in classrooms and in clusters of 30 in their age group, but where does learning actually happen? And how does it happen? And maybe it happens outside of school. And how do we connect those ideas and strategies to make sure that we're building schools that can facilitate the learning, but also preparing our teachers? I think that's really tough. You know, in my schools, we have 6 schools in our organization, about 300 teachers. Some are straight out of teacher training school, and some are at the end of their career. How do we help all of our teachers through the transformation and change that's needed to meet our future learners? So if you would read these pages in advance, that would help get our conversations ready. And then I would ask, finally, but almost most importantly, that you do a reflection. Consider from that very first chapter. I'd like for you to think of one concrete example for each learning principle. Draw a picture or think of an example you observed in the classroom or an idea you have to develop at your school. But get a concrete picture of what each principle stands for. Then I would ask you, how do we know what's going on in our schools? If I wanted to go look for these principles, where would I look? What would I see? What data sources could I have? Would I observe classes, talk to teachers? Where can we see these different learning principles? And finally, I would ask you to think about in your own school, how far is each principle reflected in your plans and your vision and your organization, how your school is designed? So the idea is there. How far have you come on each one? And secondly, I would ask you, how far have you come in actual practice? So some of us have great ideas and plans, and we're working on it in our teacher training and our scheduling, but how far have we actually come? How much of each principle can you see in practice at your school? So these types of questions I'd like you to reflect on, and you get one A4 paper to do it. You can draw pictures, you can do color, you can take notes, you can write text, you can identify questions you want to discuss. But on one A4 sheet of paper, I'd like you to write down all of your reflections from that first chapter reading. And that's what we're going to start with when we see each other. So I'm really looking forward to meeting you, and I think it's going to be so exciting to hear about your experiences and how you're thinking about creating innovative learning environments. I look forward to meeting you in January. Bye.